Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new week and welcome to a brand new edition of what we call the Shifting the Culture podcast, where we talk about the different artists and events that have impacted this culture we love as hip hop, as well as the artists and events that continue to do so to this very day. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Conscious Kurt in the flesh as always, and my co host needs no introduction, but the hell with it. He's going to give y'all one anyway. Break it down for us.
Yo, what up, everyone? This is King Khan live and direct once again with another week. Just happy to be here, man. Happy to be back for another episode. So, what's going on? How's your week been, man?
Week's been pretty good, I have to say. It's been a good week. I'm really getting into the whole holiday groove, and I'm looking forward to my upcoming vacation to New York, New Jersey for New Year's. So I'm in good spirits right now. Also, I started a battle with my best friends that we do every year. We're doing it again this year. It's been a lot of fun. Really brings out a different side of my rapping, and I fucks with that very heavily.
All right, folks, with that, that's what's up. So, what are you doing for the holidays? What do you got planned? What did you do this week to kind of get ready for the holidays?
Well, as far as that, I didn't do too much. What I've been mainly been busy with this whole week is doing my other podcast for the birds. I just dropped a recent episode of it this past Friday about the toxicness of social media. And I've also, like I said, been doing this rap battle I do with my best friends every year. We started doing it back in 2006, and we kind of kept the tradition going, even though we live in separate places. And with COVID and other personal things happening over the last few years, we haven't been doing it as much. But I had the idea of just starting it randomly because I kind of wanted to spark it up again. And it's also like a good way of like rap exercise. I like to look at it as. So ever since then, I've kind of been preoccupied with that. And I have to say it's a lot of fun, but I will be honest. I'm probably going to go to hell for a lot of the things I say in those battles. No bullshit.
Yeah, I bet. So basically, you just go against you and your friends, just kind of like talk shit against each other and go at each other, kind of like a regular rap battle.
Yeah, it's kind of like a roast, but with rapping. You know how they have like the roast of Charlie Sheen, the roast of Bob Saget, those kind of like Comedy Central specials?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's like that with rapping. It's all out of love, but we say some personal ass shit to each other. It gets fucking ugly.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Nah, but the good thing about it is that we'll diss each other so hard, we'll hit each other with the most disrespectful, like out of line you can think of, and then we'll call each other up and say, "Yo, you got my ass good with that one. How the fuck did you come up with that?" Yeah, it's some crazy shit, man, but I love it.
Well, that's dope. You guys have a good relationship where you can talk shit about each other and not catch feelings or anything about it. So, yeah, it's pretty dope to have, to be like that with your boys.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before where people got their feelings hurt and took things personally, but with us, we understand what the process is, so we don't take anything personal, and yeah, we embrace whatever comes at us.
Okay. Wow, somebody took it personal and got all of their feelings over like a battle that's just for fun.
Yeah, one year there was this girl that we all used to live with actually, and she wasn't the best roommate and kind of overstayed her welcome. And then in one of the disses to one of them, I referenced that girl, and that
You
girl,
all used to live with. You all
long,
used to live with. What
long
kind of situation was that?
one of them invited the girl to come live with us for like a few days, and then a few days turned into 4 months. And lo and behold, that one person who invited her to live with us ended up moving to Israel in the middle of all that and left both of us stuck with her. And eventually we ended up
Wow.
kicking her out because she did overstay her welcome, among other things. And then, yeah, I dissed one of them in the battle referencing her. And then she read it somehow. And she put out a diss to me. And she doesn't even rap, but she put out a diss to me. So I'm like,
Wow.
okay, that's how you want to play. So I fucking let her ass have it.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, and then she tried to diss me again, and I was like, okay, if this is how you want to play, and then I fucking let her have it again even harder. And she got mad to the point where she sent both of my friends a message saying, if I ever see that dude in person again, it's going to be a problem. He better watch his back.
Wow. I never heard this. This is the first time I'm hearing this story, but I don't know how somebody randomly like stays in your house and for 4 months. Damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, it was, but it is what it is. Shit happens, but I'm proud of the work I did with those disses. Some of the best raps I probably ever came up with.
So yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that. Well, you always have some funny stories with your roommates, man.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have some funny ass roommates.
Yeah, when I see them in New York,
Funny.
and when I see them in New York, New Jersey in a few weeks, it'll be the first time we've all been together in New York since 2008. And I've known these dudes since 2001, and it's only going to be the second birthday I spend with both of them.
Oh wow. Well, at least you get, you should have a good time over there in New York.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of partying, lots of catching up, lots of good ass vegan food, and lots of dispensaries.
Oh yeah, that's one thing that New York has. That's pretty much like the last time I went over the summer. Like on every corner there was one. So it's turning into like Vegas pretty much, where it's pretty much on everywhere you go.
Oh hell yeah, that's how it is now. And yeah, next time you go to New York, you definitely need to spend more time in the city. The hell with that, spending all your time in Long Island shit.
Yeah, well, last time I went was for family. So next time, yeah, definitely more venture out, check out Brooklyn. I haven't been there in a minute, and yeah, definitely go to the city and see what's going on. But yeah, the last
Yeah,
time I went was more for family. So the next time it's gonna be more for fun and pleasure.
as great of a place as it was when I was a kid, New York is a lot bigger than Queens Center Mall, bro.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that trip. But how have you been? How you gearing up for the holidays? What's the vibe been like in your neck of the woods?
But for the most part, yeah, just getting ready for the holidays. Finally put up the Christmas tree the other day, and yeah, just kind of like just chilling. I'm not really, I don't know. I kind of did something for Thanksgiving, but for Christmas, not looking like it's gonna be anything crazy. It's looking like gonna be like a chill day. So I don't really have too many plans. Trying to see if I can take a trip though, maybe either to Florida or maybe to Florida for a couple of days. So we'll see if that could work out. But if not, then I'll probably be down there in a couple months.
Okay, that works. I actually like it here in Atlanta during the holiday time. It definitely fits the holiday vibe more than Vegas ever did, and definitely more than Florida ever did.
Yeah, the people out here are really into the holidays. Like even like what was it, Halloween, Thanksgiving, like every holiday I see people decorating their houses, putting up Christmas lights and whatnot. So yeah, people in Georgia definitely take their holidays seriously and they go all out.
Yeah, it's a good thing, bro. I've learned, like, especially as I've gotten older, to like kind of like really appreciate that shit and like enjoy that shit. Granted, there's a lot of commercialism behind Christmas and all that, and I get how people can be turned off by it. But also at the same time, there still is some fun that you can have with it. And if you have to choose between one or the other, always choose the fun and positive shit. It will always reward you every single time.
Yeah, definitely, man. So other than that, man, just had a great week. I did somebody randomly pulled up on me. Like I went to the bank the other day and like it was a funny story. Yeah, I went to the bank to get some, to exchange out some money or whatever, and some lady like walks up on me and asked, "Oh, do you have any money?" I was like, "Nah, I don't have anything right now." And then she's like, "Yeah, I know you got it." I was like, "Damn." I thought to myself, I'm like, "Damn, these people asking for money and getting bold these days because." Like, damn, how the fuck you gonna tell me what I have and what I can give you, like as as far as me helping you out? Like, I just feel like that person was just hella bold to come at me like that. And yeah, I went into the bank and I did have a couple dollars that maybe that I could have spared, but just like the way that she came at me, kind of like turned me off, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I ain't gonna give you nothing. I'm gonna go about my business. So that was just a funny thing that I had this week. And then another random thing that I saw, I was driving and then I seen like I don't know if it was a lady and her daughter or Uber. I don't know what the hell was going on, but I was driving by and some lady was in like one of those Benz SUVs and she was like kicking somebody out of a car. And she was like dragging the person out of a car. Like I've never
Oh
seen this shit.
no!
What the hell
Holy
is
shit!
going on? Like she's dragging her out of a car like some domestic type shit. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it was just like in broad daylight on a major road, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" So, and then like I should have called, I probably should have called the cops, but
Maybe it was like an Uber driver kicking out a passenger who was giving him shit, or maybe a passenger that didn't tip.
I don't know. But it felt like I don't know from what I saw, it felt like the person, well, the lady, the driver was actually dragging the person out of the car. So I don't know what the hell was going on. It sounded like they knew each other, and it sounded like it was some kind of domestic, some family shit going on, or maybe like a high school, or they didn't go to school, or some shit like that was going on. But it definitely seemed like to me, no, I've never seen something like that where somebody's getting randomly thrown out of a car, like literally thrown out of a car and pulled out of a car in broad daylight. So that was an interesting thing that I saw, but probably should have called the cops. Now that I look back on it, I don't know what was going on, but where I come from, snitches get stitches. So,
So
but
I've been
I
told.
definitely I probably should have called. I probably should have made a phone that in though.
Nah, but what are you gonna do?
Hopefully she's all right, man. Hopefully she didn't really get thrown out into that busy street. I didn't hear any reports of anybody getting hit or anything like that. So I'm gonna pray that everything's all right.
Yeah, hopefully it is. Hopefully it's nothing like catastrophic or anything like that. But let's get into our main story for the day. Music producer Ray Daniels was on a recent episode of the podcast For the Culture, and he had a very controversial take about the Wu-Tang Clan. And basically what the dude had to say was that Wu-Tang was not a top 5 hip-hop group. He said they were a top 10 group, but they are not top 5. And he went on to list top 5 groups that are ahead of Wu-Tang, and these are the way they go: Outkast, Tribe Called Quest, Run DMC, UGK, and 8 Ball and MJG. King Kong, what do you think of this controversial take, and how ridiculous do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's hella ridiculous because like people forget the impact that Wu Tang, or people don't forget. Some people choose not to forget, not to remember like how much of an impact Wu Tang had on the culture. Just like I don't know, when I saw this interview online the other day, like I was jumping out of my seat because I couldn't believe the blasphemy that came from this. I don't know. It felt like this person was kind of like stretching or trying to go viral or something, because there's no way. I don't care if you don't like their music or not. There's no way that you can't put the Wu Tang Clan in your top 5 groups of all time, or and to put them like not even the top 5, and to question if they even belong in the top 10. That's, I don't know. That's outrageous to me, yo. That doesn't make any sense to me. So like that list, I understand where he's coming from. I know he's from the South, and a lot of the South groups are on there. Which, yeah, I like some of those groups definitely, but I just don't feel like. Yeah, I feel like they impacted the culture, but I feel like Wu Tang impacted the culture on a whole nother level. Just look at their logo. Like that's one of the most popular logos in hip hop of all time. When you see that logo, like you know exactly what it represents and what it means. So for Wu Tang Clan to not even be included on that list, I don't know, it kind of bugged me out. But you said the Tribe was on there. Who else was on there? UGK.
Run DMC.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't get mad at some of the people on the list. What about your list? Who would you put on your top 5 list of hip hop groups, or just some of your hip hop groups of all time? You could be either duos, or it can be collective like trios or whatnot.
I went on to say on the podcast several weeks ago when we were talking about the 30-year anniversary of 36 Chambers that Wu-Tang is hands down one of the most important groups in the history of hip hop,
Exactly.
along with NWA. So I'll put the both of them in the top 5. I'll put, yeah, both of them. Outkast, Mobb Deep.
Okay.
Fuck, this last one is hard. And the last one
It's
is
hard,
always
man. There's a
hard.
lot of good
Last
groups.
one
A lot of
is
good group.
always
A lot of
hard.
good groups out there, man.
Ugh. It's between Run DMC and Gangstar.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, man.
Fuck.
You want to do this? You want to break it down into duos versus groups, or do you want to just do
Just groups. I think groups is fair. I think groups is a fair way to describe
groups?
it. So as far as 5, fuck.
It's really hard, man. There's a lot of groups out
Uh,
there, man. That
I'm
it's a
gonna
lot we
have
didn't even talk. We didn't mention.
I'm gonna have to slightly give the edge to Gangstar. I'm sorry, I fucking love Run DMC. They pretty much opened the door for rappers to become commercially successful. But fuck, man, Gangstar is just on some other shit.
Yeah, man. Gangstar,
Oof.
just with DJ Premier and his production, and then Guru with his timeless bars and just his flow and the shit that he was talking about. Yeah, Gangstar was definitely one of the best groups of all time, and R.I.P. the Guru. He's one of the most underrated lyricists of all time as well. So you can't go wrong with Gangstar. My list, I would definitely have to put Wu Tang up there. I'm a certified East Coast hip hop head, so I definitely got to put Wu Tang as far as their impact on the culture. We talked about this a little bit, like how pretty much all of the members of the Wu Tang actually dropped a solo album. Even Capadonna dropped solo albums as well. So, for them as a group collectively to drop classic albums, 36 Chambers, Wu Tang Forever, Iron Flag, the list goes on, and then for them to drop solo projects, individually, which were great in their own right, definitely speaks volumes of the impact that the group had on the culture. Not to mention, like I said, the logo. Everybody knows about that logo, the
Yeah,
Wu Tang logo.
I was gonna say about the logo. That logo isn't just the most recognizable in the history of hip hop, also the most recognizable. Period. I put the Wu Tang logo as on the level of being recognized on the same level as the McDonald's logo, Coca Cola logo, the NBA logo. You name it, it's right up there with all of them, son.
Everybody knows about that. And I remember when I was back in school, people used to, in books or in their backpack, people used to draw the Wu Tang logo on their backpack,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
they
used
did
to do
that
shit
shit.
like that. So that's how popular that logo is. And then not to mention, Wu Tang ventured on into clothing with Wu Wear, which was one of
Ooh,
the most popular clothing lines back in the '90s, with along with like Mecca and Boss, Carl
William
Kanai,
Cole.
those kind of, yeah, really all those type of brands that were popping during that time. So Anichi or NYC, whoever, however the fuck you want to say it, also was
Yeah,
very
I never knew how to
popular.
pronounce that shit. I never knew how to pronounce that shit after all these damn years.
People say Nietzsche, but if you look at the letters, you could break it down. It could be NYC.
Or
So whatever it
Nice.
was
I don't fucking
called,
know.
and nice. What there was different ways people pronounce that brand, but Wu Wear was definitely one of the most popular brands that people were rocking back then. So just that alone, and not only they eventually even have a TV series based on how they came out. So to not say that Wu Tang is at least in the, you don't have to like them, but to say that they're not even at least in the top five is ridiculous. It's ludicrous, yo. So there's no way that Wu
Yeah,
Tang can't be in the top five. So that's one. Wu Tang is up there for me.
the way I compare Wu Tang is what New Edition was for R&B, where like New Edition was like a successful group, and everybody in that group went on to have like successful solo careers. That's what Wu Tang was for hip hop.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I could take that. Yeah, going back to my list, we got Wu number one. Two, even two is hard, man, because there's so many great groups that like, I would have to go Mob Deep, man, because Mob Deep, they have so many timeless tracks. The infamous album alone, so many classic instrumentals produced by Havoc that are still getting played today. And like when you hear that beat, that you just think about, like when you hear like Shook Ones, like come on, like I don't know, man, just does something to you, man. This Mob Deep was one of those hardcore groups that they just drop banger after banger, and their songs, man, just are classic, and they stand the test of time, and it's still slap to this day.
And also, Mobb Deep were the only ones to actually diss back Tupac after the whole hit 'em up thing and the East Coast West Coast thing. They were the only ones to actually get on a track and get back at him, and they bodied the shit out of him too.
Yeah, Mob Deep is definitely up there for me. Next, I'm gonna go with hmm, I'm gonna go with the Locks, man. The Locks,
Oh
Styles,
fuck,
Jada,
fuck,
Sheik.
fuck.
Yeah, you
Oh
can't. I don't
shit!
know how,
How could
man.
I forget the
I don't know how you
locks?
could forget
How
the
the fuck
Locks,
did I
man.
forget them?
Like I don't know, man. Just when D Block and the Locks, like when their music comes on, I just turn into an animal, man. When they're like, I don't know, it's just something that their music does to me, and just their bars, and when Styles and Jada go back and forth, it's like it's unmatched. Like the way that they their chemistry and how they sync together. So gotta be the Locks for me. They're not only their mixtapes, their group albums. Also going to talk possibly about the Money Power Respect but album, but yeah, that was another great album by them. But they had definitely some great music, and they left an impact on the game. And even the verses that we talked about, how they
Oh.
destroyed Dipset, which is another one of the best groups of all time, and they dismantled them. So
You know what's funny that you bring up the locks? You know what song would probably go viral right now if they were to re-release it?
what song?
The song "We Are the Streets." You know that song at the end of the album We Are the Streets where they diss Diddy and they diss Bad Boy? Like
Oh yeah,
how much traction would that song get if like it came out now? Holy shit.
yeah, definitely.
Yo, they
So
bodied him too. They bodied the shit out of him on that track too.
yeah, that whole album was basically about how they left. You know, like how they left Bad Boy and how they didn't really like that style and how Rough Rider was more up their alley and what they really stood about. So yeah, you can definitely see the
Oh,
contrast between
definitely.
Money, Power, Respect versus We Are the Streets. Like those are like night and day albums.
Yeah, they had some track on Money Power Respect called If You Think I'm Jiggy. I like look at that shit. I'm like, yo, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
This is not you. This is not
yeah.
authentic.
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like the song when it did come out, but yeah, looking back at it,
Ugh.
like yeah, looking at the Locks and their catalog, yeah, that was definitely something to forget about. That track.
Yeah, like Nostradamus. Yeah, like Nostradamus. How I feel about that track. That's also how I feel about If You Think I'm Jiggy, and also to a degree how you feel about Hypnotize.
Yeah, I can't stand Hypnotized, so let's not go. Let's not get back
Damn.
on that. Yeah, fuck Hypnotized.
Oh fuck, it's like that.
But
I mean, I know you don't like the song, but fuck, I didn't realize you didn't like
yeah,
the
man.
background
Like I said,
track.
man, when songs get played so much after a while, like I can't listen to it anymore. But that
But
was the one where I felt like Biggie was kind of turning into more commercial, and I just wasn't feeling that track at all. Sorry.
look, it's by no means the best song on the album, but it's a fun club song. That's the way I look at it. It's a fun club song. It's good for what it is, and that's all I can really say about it.
No, I feel you. I feel you. To each his own, but it's not for me. But get back on the list. So we got Wu Tang, we got Mobb Deep, we got Locks. I'm probably gonna go with Tribe Called Quest next. Just for, just the way that they come from Queens, the way they influenced the game. They brought jazz into the hip hop, and they were conscious, and they had different records. It wasn't really as hardcore as like Wu Tang and some Mobb Deep and some of the other groups, but they were more like a conscious group, and they were just dope, and just the stuff that they stood about, and they influenced the game. So definitely got to go with Tribe Called Quest. And then my last one, this is tough, man. I feel like I'm missing a lot of groups, but I got to put Outkast on there. Just their classic albums. Like I love the art of storytelling. That's one of my favorite songs with Outkast and Slick Rick. So I love that track. Just all the things that they contributed to the culture. So out and then representing for the South. So they were definitely one of my favorite groups. But there's a lot of groups that were missing out that would definitely should get shouted out and should get some love. So like you said, Gangstar, Run DMC definitely
NWA.
on there.
Oh
Public
fuck yeah.
Enemy, NWA, Public Enemy, they had a big impact on the culture as far as like standing up for for our rights and having a voice for the people in the in the ghetto and whatnot. So definitely got to shout them out. Naughty by Nature, they had a bunch of anthems like Hip Hop Hooray, OPP, like just those were like some big bangers, big
Oh
anthems back in
fuck
their
yeah.
time. Also, EPMD was one of the early groups that had that back and forth, and a lot of the pioneers definitely give love to EPMD as one of the best groups of all time.
Ooh.
Also, we got to give love to the Fugees, Bone Thugs and Harmony, UGK, Migos, Black Star, Most Def and Kweli,
Yeah,
G
we missed a lot of
Unit,
them.
3 6 Mafia, 8 Ball, and MJGs. So there's a lot of groups on here. You can't go wrong. That's a CL Smooth and
P Rock and CL Smooth. No, you did not say them.
yeah, P Rock, CL Smooth, De La Soul, The Roots. So there's a lot of legendary groups. So it's hard to really pick a five of the top best groups. But as far as me, I'm gonna
Actually,
go with.
I'm gonna
Oh, go
take it
ahead.
back. I'm gonna take it back for my number five. I'm gonna have to take out Gangstar. I'm gonna have to put in the Roots. I don't know how the fuck I forgot them, but yeah, I'll put the Roots in over Gangstar. Sorry, Gangstar, but the Roots have been popping since like the mid '90s, and they're still popping now. They're still doing concerts, and in a way, arguably, they're probably more popular than ever.
They even had beef with Biggie back in the day.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, some subliminals on their albums against each other, going at each other. So yeah, so the Roots definitely a great group, infused hip hop, and also they were like they had a live band. They had an actual band, so that was like one of the first hip hop bands that I can recall.
And Black Thought's one of the dopest MCs you will ever hear, past or present. fuck me, can this
Yeah,
dude
Black
spit?
Thought is definitely up there. Yeah, he doesn't get the shine that he should, but he's maybe possibly because he's in the group. But as far as lyricism, he's definitely up there as one of the best ones, one of the greats.
Yeah, so many classic albums. It's ridiculous. From Illadelph Half Life, Things Fall Apart, Game Theory. Also,
Yeah, I like Game Theory. Yeah.
Rising Down was also dope. The one from 2008.
What was the one that had Star on it?
That's from Tipping Point. I think it was Tipping Point.
Point. Yeah. So they had a lot of great albums, man. You Got Me was another good track with.
That's one thing I'll say though. I hate to say it. When I went to see them in Vegas, like in 2019, I was a little disappointed.
Why is that?
The show was good, don't get me wrong, but they didn't really play a lot of the songs I was hoping they would play. And they mainly just did covers. Half of the songs they did were covers of like songs like Shook Ones and Reminisce. Yeah, they were doing just mainly covers for half their set.
Damn. So yeah, it's good that you got a chance to see them. But yeah, I feel what you're saying, and then you really get into like the album tracks and whatnot. So yeah, kind of like
Yeah,
leave
because
you with some more
I
to
went
inspire.
in I went in so hyped up and like so ready to go, and I was like just saying to myself like, yo, this is gonna be the best fucking concert ever. I can't wait for them to play this track. I can't wait for them to perform that track. And then when I got there, it was like, this is cool, but I'll be honest, some of the performances I've seen in open mics blew me away a little more than that show did.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it's tough sometimes, man. Like I've been to concerts before where I'm expecting them, my favorite artist, to play this favorite song of mine, but sometimes they have so many songs in their catalog, it's hard to play every single one, and they have a time constraint of how long they can perform for. So I kind of understand it, but that's why it's good to go see the artist more than once because most of the time the shows are not the same. Like I've seen Nas multiple times, Wu Tang, and like their shows are not always the same. They always switch it up. So yeah, so maybe if you catch them again, maybe they'll play some of those songs that you're looking for. But I do understand the artist standpoint of it as well.
Okay, so your top five you said was Wu Tang, Outkast, Mobb Deep, Tribe Called Quest, and the Locks.
Yeah, and I've seen Wu Tang multiple times. I've seen the Locks perform. Unfortunately,
And
we'll
fuck,
never get a chance to see Mobb Deep together, and
yeah,
Outkast probably never. But I have seen what was the other Tribe Called Quest. I was blessed to see them perform at a Rock the Bells show out in Miami a while ago. That was actually a very stacked lineup. That concert, let me just tell you, just so you can get the context of who was performing at this show. So Tribe Called Quest were the headliners, and at that time I don't believe they performed like for a very very long time as a group. So it was dope to see them all together. But Nas was the co-headliner. You also had Black Star, Most Def, and Kweli. You had Ghost and Ray performing together. You had Red and Meth performing. You had Far Side. So I gotta find the flyer and show it to you. But it definitely was a stacked show. It was one of the best shows that I've been to. But yeah, shouts out to Rock the Bells. I saw that they're coming back. They're gonna start having concerts. Looks like every summer, so it will be dope. One of the original hip hop festivals that I went to. So it was definitely a good show.
yeah. I wish I was there. Fuck, what a fucking lineup, son.
Yeah, it was definitely a sick lineup. I know I'm missing a few people, a bunch of people, but that was definitely one of the concerts that stood out to me that I remember. Did you ever get the chance to see any of your people in the top five other than the Roots perform?
Let's see. I saw the Roots. Never saw Outkast. Never saw Wu Tang. Never saw NWA, obviously. And never saw
Mm-hmm.
Mobb Deep, obviously,
So
either. So, yeah.
yeah,
I did see the Locks at the Bad Boy concert back in 2016, the Bad Boy reunion tour. I'm not going to lie. I love their music, but I'm not really crazy about them performance wise. I don't feel like that's where they shine, really, at least from what I saw at that show.
nah. Well, yeah, you can't go. Well, that's again that goes back to the Diddy. That goes back to the Diddy shiny suit era, and you got to see the Locks like as the Locks, not like attached to Diddy.
I
So
don't know.
I got a chance to see.
I don't know if that had anything to do with it much, but maybe. But I just know there's certain rappers who are really good, but when it comes to performing and it comes to a live show, it's just not the same.
Yeah, I feel you, but I would probably, if you can, try to see the Locks again because they definitely put on a good show. Just by if you look at the verses and just from my own personal experience going to a show, yeah, they definitely put on a show and they get into the mixtape stuff, their album stuff, their solo projects. So they do it all. So definitely, I would recommend for you to check out the Locks again, but separate from Bad Boy,
All right, fair
so you
enough.
can get their full Locks experience.
I could definitely tell looking back at it now. Probably after they did niggas done started something with DMX on It's Dark and Hell is Hot. They were like, yo, we got to be on Rough Riders. This bad boy shit's not gonna fly. This Rough Rider shit is really where it's at. I could definitely see some shit like that probably going down.
Yeah. But definitely, I like the list. You can't go wrong because it's your personal opinion, but you definitely got to put one way or the other. You definitely got to put Wu Tang in there in your top five. Groups of all time. They got to be up there.
Yeah, and NWA, even though they had like a relatively short run, the impact they made in that run is fucking insane.
And that's another group where a lot of the members went solo. You had the Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Easy E, all those members.
Easy.
MC Ren, I think, even dropped a solo project. So a lot of those artists, they went on to become solo artists as well. So
And movie stars in Ice Cube's case.
yeah, you don't even think Ice Cube was like when you think about Ice Cube, you don't even think about rap anymore. You think about movies and TV. That's how much he's evolved throughout the years. So
He's the most successful rapper turned actor other than Will Smith.
yeah, I'll give him that. Yeah, but I would say Will Smith is slightly ahead of him. But
Will Smith won an Oscar, bro. Of course he's ahead of him.
yeah,
People forget they had a second album besides them Straight Outta Compton. They had that album Niggas for Life that came out in 91. A lot of people actually say, I saw a post for it online last week. A lot of people actually say, in a way, it's better than Straight Outta Compton. It's like not the same without Ice Cube. I get it, but people say that the album is like super, super underrated and does not get enough credit.
man, go back and check it out. Yeah, when I think of NW, I think of that first album, Straight Outta Compton. I don't think about the second album once Ice Cube left. I don't see them in the same light.
Yeah, I guess in a sense it was kind of like the Bulls after Jordan retired the first time, where it's not the same, but it was still really good.
I got you.
In other news, Andre 3000's new album, New Blue Sun, has done impressively well ever since it was released the week of Thanksgiving. And in its first week alone, it did 24,000 units, which outperformed other rappers such as Nas, Lil Wayne, French Montana, and Ice Spice. So people had what they had to say about the album. I know it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but with all that aside, you cannot deny that this shit has been a success. And it's had people talking about him and in a way people have not talked about him in years. So you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, you definitely got to give him credit. Couple of things with this list though. Number one is you can't really equate sales to because the way that the sales are calculated now, they're calculated based off of streams. Because I don't believe too many people go out and buy like the physical copies of albums like how they used to back in like the '90s and 2000s. So it's not like that. So there's a way that they calculate the streams, equal to be equivalent to album sales. So that's one thing. Number two, I kind of said this on a previous episode when we talked about when the album first dropped, is I don't consider this a hip hop album. So yeah, he's gonna outsell some of these other artists, but it's not a hip hop album. Especially when people when this album came out, a lot of people went online, I'm sure, and went to Spotify, Apple, and all these other streaming platforms to actually take a listen to it to see what it was about. So I'm sure that's how we got a lot of these streams. But it's kind of hard to say really if a project is great or not based on sales because some of the best artists they don't sell in the first week or they don't sell at all. But if you listen to the music, that the music is still impactful and it's still saying something. So yeah, I've never been a person who uses sales to kind of like determine if the artist is or if the album was great or not. I kind of look at it as as a body of work. But as far as this album, this is not really a hip hop album. So for it to say that, oh yeah, it outsold Nas, Lil Wayne, and some of these other artists, it's understandable because it's not a hip hop album, and hip hop doesn't, especially this year, hip hop is not selling like how it used to be. So that's just my take on it. So
If it's not a hip hop album, then what really is it then? Is it a pop album? Is it a smooth jazz album? Like yoga music? Like what would you categorize? What category would you put it in?
yeah, show me how many sales Kenny G has versus Andre 3000. That would be a better comparison, not another rapper. When this album doesn't even have any words on it, it's just flutes. And even Andre 3000 himself saying that he's not even the way he performed on the album is like he doesn't even know if it's like the right key or what kind of yeah, he doesn't know if like he's playing the flute in the right key, just playing music randomly. So we're not people in that space to kind of critique this album if it's good or not. I would say somebody who drops those kind of album or somebody who's in that genre could be, could speak more on that. But to compare this album to a rap or other rap albums, I feel like it's not fair because it's not a rap album.
Yeah, I get that, but with all that aside, the fact that the album sold so well in the first week, and also the fact that people are talking about it, whether good or bad, shows you that it was a success in that regard. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you're indifferent to it, the fact is, we're here talking about it right now. We've been talking about it pretty much for the last 3 weeks ever since he announced it. So if that's what the dude had planned, if that was his MO, he succeeded and succeeded very fucking well.
Yeah, I give him props. He definitely, got the buzz going. For an anticipation for the album, even though it's not a rap album, people did go and check it out and want to were curious to see what it was about. So he definitely sparked interest in some of his longtime fans and maybe some new fans. So he definitely did his thing. You can't call it a whack. You can't call it a flop or anything like that. But like I said, I just feel some type of way of comparing it to other hip hop albums because it's not a hip hop album. But I do respect it for what he was able to accomplish, and hopefully it does spark some interest and spark some desire, for him to maybe do an Outkast album or for him to do a solo album, but rapping, not on the flutes or playing instruments and shit.
Yeah, hopefully he gets that spark eventually sooner or later. I know as an artist sometimes you lose it, but hopefully if it's like 10 years from now, he gets it back because that's his gift to the world. And also I'm sure that's something that he loves to do, even though he may not want to do it for attention or do it for money. So I just hope that spark eventually does come back for him. I know Lil Wayne opened up recently saying that he was kind of disappointed that Andre feels the way he
Yeah.
does now and how like he doesn't have anything to rap about. But like I said on the episode when we talked about it several weeks ago, that's his prerogative if he feels that way. If he doesn't feel like rapping, if he doesn't have anything to say and doesn't want to say anything, that's his prerogative, and people need to respect that.
What if the album was like an experiment? What if he just put this out to see if people were still, still fucking with him or still checking for him? Maybe if it was just an album to put out to kind of test the waters to see if people are still, infatuated with him. So, and to see maybe if there was you were just testing it out to see if this works, and then okay, people still love me. Maybe I can drop an album then. So maybe that's what it was. Hopefully that's what it is, and hopefully it inspires him to drop something. Because yeah, we want to hear something, no matter what he's going through in his life. We want to hear something from his perspective. He's one of the greatest of all time, and everybody misses his voice, so we just want to hear what he has to say. We've heard songs from Big Boy here and there over the years. I would like to hear something from Andre as well.
Yeah, even if he wants to talk about like, getting his eyesight check or doing his laundry at the laundromat, going to the dentist, fuck it, talk about that shit. I'll be honest, I'd rather hear about him spitting about that than hearing all these like, commercial ass studio gangster rappers rapping about the same bullshit we've been hearing about for 30 years. I would much rather hear Andre spit about like some newer shit going on in his life than hearing the same old shit I hear nonstop. Definitely.
Exactly. So
In that sense, I would just say, what the fuck do you have to lose? If you could do an album playing the flute, what the fuck do you have to lose doing an album rapping about shit you're doing at 48 years old? People will listen to it
yeah,
regardless. And I think what you said was true, considering that he came out with this album and people are still buzzing about it. If he comes out with an album just about something like that, like I alluded to, I'm sure it'll still be a success.
yeah, people are still gonna check for it. So I feel like it's all in his head. I feel like he's stopping himself, from just putting something out there and see what people say, man. Just put something out.
But like I said, if he doesn't want to, if he does not feel up to it, then you should not force him to.
Then, but at the same time, he did like it's kind of like teasing people. At the same time, when you come out with an instrumental album and you release it as Andre 3000, there's one thing if he released it like under maybe like under a different name, then it would make more sense to people. But when people see Andre 3000 drops a new album, automatically what people are going to start thinking. So I don't know. I felt like he could have done a better job of at least changing maybe his artistic name for this album, or call it something different, just so that way people didn't get confused.
I get it, but like I said, if he doesn't feel up to it, if he wanted to just do this and wanted to put this project out, he has the right to do so. That's his way of wanting to express himself. But it is funny that the first song on the album, the I Swear I Really Wanted to Make a Rap Album, but the wind blew me in this direction this time, that song is currently the longest song to ever hit the Billboard charts. The longest song, I mean, like in length.
Yeah, that's nuts. And that's mainly because that's the first track on the album, and if you get a lot of streams on the album, that's gonna obviously the album's gonna. I'm sorry, that track is going to, to be on the singles chart. So that I understand that. It makes sense.
Yeah, but that's hilarious though. Like, I think the previous record for like the longest song on the Billboard chart was like 10 minutes or so, but fuck. It's crazy that he topped it with this record of all records. I was actually listening to another long ass song yesterday, which we'll get into on our anniversaries in a few minutes. But yeah, it's crazy that this song is like the longest song ever to hit the Billboard charts, like in the history of music. So in that sense, he made history, and just with that alone, the album's a success.
Yeah, it's definitely not saying it's not a successful album. It's just like just looking at through the lens of hip hop. It's just not a hip hop album, and it should be classified as a different genre.
That's fine. I get that. Even Nelly made a country album, I think, a couple years back.
Yeah, he did, but I don't think people were checking it for like they weren't considering it a rap album. They called it a country album.
Yeah, that like All in My Head song. Yeah, I remember that shit very well.
I remember that shit. Man.
Oh, congratulations to Nelly and Ashanti. They're expecting their first child.
Yeah, I saw that. Damn, somebody finally knocked up Ashanti. She's been saving that for the longest.
Well, they were together for a minute before they broke up, and then I don't got back together. So, and I guess for the most part, she's been attached to him for what, like a decade and a half, on and off.
Yeah, I guess she was waiting for him to figure it out. I guess because she was saving herself.
I think he hit the jackpot with that one because I'll say this: Ashanti's super fine, no doubt about it. But besides that, she seems like she has her head on straight. She seems like a more mellow chick, more down to earth chick, not like wrapped up in any drama or any mess. So like that part of her,
Yeah,
I really fucks with heavy. Like from what I see of her from the outside, at least.
yeah, she seems like she's pretty cool. So and down to earth, like you said. So shouts out to them. Hopefully everything goes well.
Yes, but let's get into some of our anniversaries as this past week marked the 40-year anniversary of the release of Scarface. Directed by Brian De Palma, starring Al Pacino. And this movie basically centered around Cuban immigrant Tony Montana immigrating to the United States. And although he was put in prison initially, he ended up getting out by killing a former associate of Fidel Castro, and then he ends up getting into the drug game. And as he gets into the drug game, he makes himself the biggest, most successful drug dealer in Miami. It's kind of like the American dream story, and it kind of like symbolizes what the 80s were about. If you really grew up in the 80s, you know the 80s were like all about flash, all about materialism, getting rich, getting money. Yeah, Scarface is more of like a blueprint of that whole 80s mentality. And I have to say, 40 years later, it's so crazy how much impact that movie's had, not just on Hollywood and motion pictures, but hip hop culture especially. It's so crazy that that movie's not a hip hop movie by any stretch, but now it's kind of classified as a hip hop movie, and a lot of rappers have like said that movie like really influenced them in a way nothing else had.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's crazy how that movie's already 40 years old. I remember seeing the posters everywhere back in the day, and yeah, man, like that movie 40 years later is still impactful, and still you see people using bits and pieces from the movie in their art. Yeah, that movie impacted a lot of artists and their personas, and like take a look at like an artist such as Nas, who kind of like has the Escobar persona, where he kind of like takes bits and pieces from the Scarface movie. So it definitely influenced him. It also influenced a lot of other artists, such as Future. He came out with.
Oh, also referencing back to
Go ahead.
Nas, the song "The World Is Yours." Where the fuck do you think he got that from?
Yeah, exactly. The world is yours, and then he's sitting in the tub, with kind of like the whole, kind of like the scene in the actual Scarface movie. So yeah, you could
Exactly.
definitely see from a young age, the influence that that movie had on Nas, and also in other genres, and I'm sorry, and also in other movies and TV shows like Power and all these other gangster, Goodfellas, The
New Jack City.
Sopranos, New Jack City, all these other gangster, mafia movies. They kind of were sparked by Scarface. Scarface was like the first movie that kind of set that blueprint for those type of movies. And in hip hop love those kind of gangster movies and those crime movies. So I don't know, just a match made in heaven. And 40 years later, that is still impacting the culture to this day.
Yeah, because Tony Montana was basically like that flashy drug dealer rapper that we would see, like, I guess, like in the late 80s, early 90s. They got a lot of that shit from watching Scarface and seeing Tony Montana. If you know about the story about the dude they made Paid in Full about, they really got the inspiration for getting into that life from watching Scarface.
Yeah, so definitely had a huge impact on culture, society. There's like video games that came up
And
from
hell, the fucking rapper Scarface. Where do you think he got his name from?
yeah, there's a lot of different things. Like I was saying, I was gonna go back to the video games. Like Grand Theft Auto is the Vice City. That video game alone was definitely inspired by Scarface, and just yeah, just like there's so many other things that we can't even remember that how Scarface impacted the cultures. And like I said, it impacted movies, TV shows, video games, music, you name it. Scarface impacted the cult, impacted it.
And in a way, I feel like Scarface and also to a degree the show Miami Vice made the city of Miami a part of pop culture.
Right, definitely immortalized Miami, I guess, into the drug game. And when you think of drugs and things like that, you kind of think of Miami.
Yeah, not even just that. It just made Miami like a popular place, like the way New York is a popular place, Chicago, LA, Vegas. That's what, like, Scarface and also the show Miami Vice made Miami.
Yeah, it definitely marketed Miami in a different light. And yeah, you are right. It kind of like made people like aware of how beautiful and nice Miami was, and the kind of things that goes stuff that goes down here.
And also, I remember the UM team became popular like in that little while after that. And then eventually they got other sports teams like the Heat and the Marlins. So yeah, Miami came a long way from before that movie came out.
Yeah, so and yeah, and this movie had a lot to do with it. If that movie never came out, who knows if those things would have happened without this movie influencing society and the culture around it.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Initially, when it came out in 1983, it didn't really perform well when it came out in theaters. It wasn't initially a success like when it was out in movie theaters, but it became a success more like through VHS and, like, yeah, watching it on video. That's when it really started to gain a buzz and
Yeah,
gain a following. Because the fact is, when Scarface came out, I don't know if you know, Scarface is kind of based on like shit that was going on in Miami like a few years prior, like in the early 80s.
yeah,
Scarface is based on like those events. Like, you remember that documentary Cocaine Cowboys, right?
yeah. I remember that.
About the Miami drug culture in the early 80s. Yeah, so Scarface was basically based off of all of that stuff. And the fact is, Scarface kind of came out too soon because when Scarface came out, that stuff was kind of still happening or, like, kind of winding down. So, like, initially, maybe people weren't ready for it at the time. So that's why, like, at first, like, it didn't really catch on and, like, people weren't really into it like that. But years later, it's gained such a fucking cult following where people say it's like the best movie ever. It's incredible. I don't think it's the best movie ever per se, but I do think it is great.
Yeah, it's not the greatest movie. Like a lot of these movies are like the belly conversation we had. A lot of these movies is not about if the movie is good or bad. It's just the impact and the characters and the different scenes and things that happen in the movie. That's what makes the movie more memorable than the actual movie itself.
Yeah, because, bro, I will never forget the first time I ever saw that movie was actually at the Fade 'em Up barbershop we used to go to. Remember what barbershop I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Mom dropped us off. I went in there once to get my haircut. I was 14. And then it's like the last scene. It's the scene when the sister's like shooting at him, and then the fucking gangster dudes come from out the window and shoot her. And then it's like the whole bloodbath between him and the rival gangsters and the dudes trying to get at him. Yeah, that was my very first introduction to the movie, was the very end. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? What the fuck is this? I'm coming to this barbershop every fucking week.
yeah. It was a dope ending, man.
not even just that scene, but there was just so many iconic scenes from that one. The scene in the beginning with the fucking chainsaw, like with the drug deal gone wrong. The scene in Bolivia when the one dude gets hung from the helicopter. Fuck me, son. They actually had to fight to keep that scene in the movie. They were almost gonna get an X rating because of that scene, but they ended up actually fighting to keep it in.
I didn't know that, but I remember like a lot of the different scenes were like included like on a lot of hip hop albums and mixtapes. They kind of like use some of those clips and use it
Yeah,
as
they
skits. Like
did.
so, it's definitely impacted the culture in other ways as well.
And also one of the most memorable scenes from the movie, the bad guy speech. Y'all a bunch of fucking assholes. Cause you don't have the guts to be who you wanna be. So you point your fucking fingers and say that's the bad guy.
Yeah, and it kind of led to the persona of Razor Ramon, the wrestler too. So that's where he got his whole
Yes,
thing.
yes. And you know what's funny? When Scott Hall pitched that character to Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson, they had never seen Scarface. He pitched the character to them, and they thought like it was like just something he came up with himself, and that was like out of his own mind. And they thought he was a genius for it because they had never seen Scarface, they never heard of it. So
I ain't gonna lie, that's one of the best wrestling characters ever, and it's to the point like, I didn't even know that that dude was white, Scott Hall. Like I didn't realize that he was white. I could have sworn that he was like, I know he was playing a character, but still, it did. I didn't think that he was white at all until like years later.
yeah, it's crazy, man. He had that character down to a T.
Yeah, he did that shit really good.
Yeah, Scarface can't say enough good things about it. It's a long ass movie, long as fuck, but it's definitely one you won't forget. Not the best gangster movie by any stretch. I still think personally that Goodfellas, Casino,
Heat, Heat is another good one.
yeah, and even Carlito's Way, which was also with Al Pacino and also the same director Brian De Palma. I personally think those movies were the better movies. But Scarface did have that impact. Scarface definitely has a legacy that's going to live on long after we're all gone. That's for damn sure.
Definitely for sure. So we'll be back for the 50th anniversary.
All right, but moving on to our next anniversary. This past week also marked the 9-year anniversary of J. Cole's third album, Forest Hills Drive. And J. Cole's actually gone on the record to say himself that this is his favorite album that he's ever done.
Yeah, I would agree. That's my favorite J Cole album. Other than like the Friday Night Lights mixtapes and whatnot, the warm up and whatnot. This is my favorite Cole album. This took Cole to a whole to that next tier. He was in like the mid tier when this album. Well, he was always nice, but he was like in the middle underground. Nobody really, he was known, but he wasn't really that mainstream. This album is what took him to that next level. I would say where he is now.
Yeah, I would say this was definitely his I Made It album. Like this was like definitely his album where you knew that he was the dude. Yeah, by this point he was at the same level as Drake, Kendrick, and Kanye. If there was any doubt of that before, those doubts went to bed after this album.
Yeah, just the album from the intro to the outro, just a lot of bangers on there. And I just love how it kind of like tells a story of him growing up in the Ville, and he just touched on a lot of different subjects, and it takes you back to. It made me feel like I was in high school listening to that song and how he's talking about
Yeah, it did.
adolescence and how he's talking about losing his virginity and talking about the Love Yours track, which is a really deep track where he goes into a lot of personal, a lot of personal stuff on that song. So it's just a dope album, man. And I was listening to it the other day, and it's still almost 10 years later. It still feels like it dropped like last week, and it's still like the song still stand the test of time, and it's just a dope body of work.
Yeah, I would also say it's my favorite album of his. There's like pretty much no songs on there you can skip. '03 Adolescence, Wet Dreams, January 28th, Fire Squad, which I actually wrote one of the disses in my battle to that beat last night.
Fire Squad.
Love Yours. Yeah, Love Yours is incredible. And you know what's funny? Speaking of that Ray Daniels dude we were talking about earlier, he said that J. Cole wasn't a GOAT artist. Like he's good, but he's not as good as he gets credit for.
No, that's a stretch. That's another stretch, man. I feel like like I said, man, these people be saying random stuff on podcasts just to get a butt, just like to get, to go viral.
Attention.
Yeah, and they tend to get attention and just say things like on purpose. Like there's no way out of the like if you see the run that he's been going on the last few years, just on his features alone, not even the albums. You see the run that he's going on. He's destroying every song that he's featured on.
Yo.
No matter, and it doesn't matter who's Benny the Butcher, Drake. It doesn't matter. Some of the best spitters, he's waxing them on their own songs, destroying them, mopping the floor with them. And I don't know, man. J. Cole just on a whole nother level, man. As far as he's very deep, he's very relatable. Like a lot of artists are not. Like I feel like J. Cole is somebody that I went to high school with, or somebody that I know. Like
Exactly.
some of these other artists, like they don't know what if they're. J. Cole is like one of the artists that I feel like that's actually the what he raps about and how he is that's how he really is in real life. It's not like a made up persona or something acting like somebody that he's not. Like
Yeah,
if
there's
you
a
listen to his music and see him, he I believe that's how he really is.
yeah, he's very low profile, low key, not materialistic. Like there's a difference between somebody like J. Cole and also somebody like Kanye. That's the best comparison I would make where Kanye has that douchiness to him and that egotistical bullshit to him. But J. Cole, like you said, is relatable. He's like feels like somebody that you know from around the way, somebody that you went to school with. And that's why, like in a sense, I also gravitate towards him because yes, he is relatable and not even just relatable, fucking dope.
Yeah, he's dope. He says the shit that other people don't say. He says real shit. And yeah, and it's like I said, like, it's stuff that you can relate to and some stuff that you've been through in your life. And we're forgetting one of the biggest songs on that album that we even talk about, No Role Models. When that song comes on anywhere in a club or a concert, everybody is gonna go like everybody got has their hands up in the air when that song comes on. When you hear that the beginning, when that beat drops, and then he says, rest in peace to I forgot how
Uncle
it starts.
Phil, Uncle Phil.
Rest in peace to Uncle Phil. And then when that beat drops, man, it's a wrap. Everybody goes crazy. And then the chorus comes, "Don't save her. We don't want to be, you don't want to be saved." All that. That song again, that's another banger on there. So yeah, just that impact of the album alone, man, is just like monumental.
Yeah, apparently was another good single from the album too.
Oh yeah, that was
Apparently
another
also fucking
single.
slapped. Where he talks about his mom like losing her house and his mom like going through a bunch of shit and he couldn't be there for her. He fucking goes out on all these tracks. Like the one thing I like about J. Cole, and it was something I really liked about Biggie and Slick Rick, is their storytelling skills.
Yeah, you can definitely tell a story and make you feel like you were right there. Like I felt like I was in high school.
He's like
Like
a
I felt like
narrator. He's a narrator, bro.
yeah, that song Adolescent when he's talking about, giving passing a note to the girl in class or whatever. Yeah, that song, like I could see myself, like I could see that picture that in my head, like happening in high school around like when I was in that time when people were trying to lose their virginity and holler at a girl or whatnot. So yeah, definitely a relatable, and I could just see myself in him.
Yeah, and even on '03 Adolescence, when he tells that story about how he's like hanging out with his friend and he's kind of like jealous of his friend because his friend like has cool clothes and his friend like gets all the girls at school and all that jazz. But
Yeah,
in reality, his friend is jealous of him because he gets good grades, he comes from a good home, and he looks like he's gonna have a future. He said that whole conversation just changes perspective on everything and shit like that you can learn from. Like those kind of stories and those kind of conversations you can learn something from and gain something from. And that's just one of the things I love the most about J. Cole's music is I come out of listening to his album saying to myself, like, damn, I really got a lot out of that shit. It was not only good, I not only enjoyed the shit out of it, but I just like really gained something from it that I could take with me for the rest of my life.
yeah. So definitely, man, one of the best artists of this generation. So you got to respect him.
Yeah, I gotta see him live one of these days. It's definitely on my bucket list. I gotta see him live sooner or later.
Yeah, man. So that's the only artist I haven't seen that I have to see.
Yeah, and he's changed so much. I know he has a kid now and he's married. And one line that stuck out to me on his most recent album was that line where he said, "It's fun fucking them hoes till you realize that you is the hoe."
hmm They got a lot of that.
Fuck. That one cut like a knife.
Yeah, the album after that was pretty deep as well. For Your Eyes Only, and then the KOD album. So he has a lot of deep albums, and they touch on a lot of subjects. So for them to say he's not artistic is wild to me.
The dude just said he's not a goat when it comes to artists. He said he's good, but he's just like not the goat when it comes to like being an all around artist and like making good songs and shit. That's what his take was. He also said Dr. Dre was overrated too, by the way.
Yeah, so that tells you what you need to know about that podcast.
But I'll say this: I'll give the dude this. He's not saying that they suck. He's not saying that they're bad, but he's just saying that they get too much credit, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with his stance on that. But at the end of the day, I've kind of learned to not get so angry at people for their opinions. As long as they're educated and they're not disrespectful about it, I can at least respect their opinion, even if I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I respect it, but I respectfully disagree.
Fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I don't agree with the dude either. All right, but J. Cole did have a great feature, a very recent feature on one of our new releases that King Khan is going to break down for you. And King Khan, let us know about some of those releases that came out this week.
Yeah, well, the main release that came out this week was Nicki Minaj Pink Friday album. I'm sorry, Pink Friday 2 album. She hasn't dropped the album in about 5 years or so. So she dropped this one, and yeah, it got a lot of features on the album. J. Cole, Lil Uzi, Lil Wayne, Drake. The usuals are on there.
Future.
Yeah, features on there. So only thing I don't like about the album, I feel like is a little too long. I'm not a fan of these long albums where they're 20 over. Like, I don't know. I feel like a good number for an album is about between, I would say, 13 to 15, 16 tracks maybe, but no more than 16 tracks. Anything over that, I think, is too much music. And I don't know. I feel like you get lost, you lose people's attention span if you have more than that. But I noticed that we're in a streaming age now, and things are different. That artists like to put out a lot more music now. I just don't get it. And I just felt like a lot of the songs were mad short, like a minute or 2 minutes long, which I don't know. I kind of miss like 4 minute songs days, but that's just me.
That's kind of the vibe I got from it too, where it was a lot of tracks, but the thing was most of the tracks were short, and overall the album isn't any longer than an hour or so. So even though it is a lot of songs, it goes by kind of fast. Like it doesn't drag like a lot of like really long albums drag.
Yeah, it was only like an hour and about 10 minutes, so it wasn't like almost pushing like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So, and you are right, it did go through the album pretty fast. There were some standout tracks. There was that Barbie Dangerous where she kind of redoes like the Notorious Thugs, the Biggie and Bone Thugs and Harmony track. So I felt like that track was pretty dope. As you said before, the J. Cole feature was pretty dope. J. Cole does his thing as always.
And a funny story behind that, Nicki Minaj opened up recently about that collaboration. She said she had a 2 hour conversation with J. Cole and how he was basically her therapist the whole time throughout the whole conversation. And she said after she heard his verse for the song, she cried. That's how touched she was by it.
Yeah, that's the kind of effect that Cole has. Like, nowadays a lot of artists, they don't get together when they record. A lot of these collabs that you hear, they're one artist is in this city, the other artist is in another city, and then they send each other the tracks. But for them to actually connect, for them to exchange their energy, and then for them to put together a dope song, I fucks with it. I like how they came together on this track, and you could tell the chemistry was there, because they connected, and you can feel the chemistry on the track. When you hear songs where you kind of send in your verse and I send in my verse, you could tell that it's kind of like pieced together, and it's not really like one cohesive track where you can feel that they took the time and they worked on it together. So it was dope that they got a chance to to put their minds together and work on this track. Another one that I see blowing up is that Everybody track with that sample, that old school sample. I can definitely see that being on TikTok and on a lot of commercials and all over the net. So I could definitely see that song blowing up. But what are some of the tracks that maybe stood out to you if you got a chance to check it out?
The one with J. Cole, definitely. J. Cole bodied it. And it's funny, getting back to that J. Cole album for a second, one long ass song on the album was actually the last song, the Note to Self, where he basically in the last 10 minutes of it just like thanks everybody and like gives shouts out to everybody.
Yeah, that was dope. I never, up until that time, I didn't recall anybody like actually using the outro to shout out. Like, kind of like, remember how people used to drop albums, and then inside the album or the CD, you would see like the special thanks to. So it was kind of like that, but in an audio form, and use it as the outro to shout everybody out. So I thought that was dope because not a lot of artists have did that before that time.
I remember the other time I noticed that was the end of the College Dropout album, where like Kanye is telling the story about how he got signed, like in the last like 10 minutes of the song. So yeah, like with the Note to Self
Yeah,
with J Cole, I kind of got a similar vibe with that with J. Cole, but he's just like just shouting out random people for like 10 minutes straight, like random people he knows from his neighborhood, like his security guard. He even like made up a story about Jonah Hill, saying like, yo, Jonah Hill, that conversation we had was mad funny. He's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just playing. That conversation actually didn't happen, but I still love your movies anyway. Yeah, like you just see like shit like that when he's like shouting out all of his friends for 10 minutes, like just how much of a cool down to earth dude this dude seems like. And you just like really fuck with that kind of energy, and you really fuck with him in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. So shout out to J. Cole.
And I fuck with his energy on that track on the album. Let Me Calm Down. Yeah, he like really tells it from her perspective, like the way he does the verse, like kind of from the perspective of somebody being with Nicki Minaj. So yeah, he really bodied it. Also, the R&B song, the song with Lil Wayne was dope.
Yeah, that song was pretty dope.
The song Needle
I
she
like
had
that.
with Drake, I fucked with too.
Yeah, that was a nice song.
And yeah, she was heavy on the samples on this album. She like sampled like the Girls Just Want to Have Fun from Cyndi Lauper. And also, obviously, the song from the Barbie movie with the Rick James sample, she did that one too. There was another one that's like not ringing a
Yeah.
bell. There was like another popular song she sampled, but it's fucking like missing me right now.
The Lumi Do.
Oh fuck,
But that song's been out for
fuck yeah, she did sample
that
that
song been out for
too.
a while though. Yeah, she killed that song. I remember when it first came out. Like I want to say at least 6 months ago that song came out. But yeah, I like that song. That song was a pretty dope track. I just feel like she didn't really like I don't know the album just kind of dropped. I know it got pushed back a couple times, but it kind of just dropped. I didn't see like any new videos or any new big singles that she released. It kind of just dropped the album. So maybe after now that the album is out, maybe she'll start releasing, videos and singles or whatnot. But yeah, for somebody as big as her, I thought it would have been a little bit different as far as like dropping the album. How was it released?
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about like the wacky songs she does and all that, but as an artist, as a complete artist, she's second to none. Talented in every area, talented in every department.
She does those wacky animated songs really good. Like that's her lane. So like she can get away with it. Like that everybody track, like I was saying with Lil Uzi Vert, that song is pretty dope. And the way that they use the sample in between the bars is pretty sick. So she's always been one of the best female lyricists. Since she's came out. Like we said, she's definitely on our Mount Rushmore of female artists over the last 10, 15 years. And yeah, she could do R&B, she can do reggae and dancehall, she can do pop. So she's definitely very talented, and she definitely deserves her flowers. So it's a good album. Like I said, I could have been a little bit shorter, but nonetheless, I still feel like it's a solid album for her.
Yeah, just weird hearing her talk about being married and having a son. Yeah, like it's definitely weird to hear her spit about that, like after all these years, and like, especially if you remember her when she first came out in 2010. Yeah, it's crazy to see how far she's come.
Yeah, so she definitely did her thing on this one. So
I'll never forget the first time I actually ever heard her was on the Best I Ever Had remix, and I just said to myself, "Yo, this girl's pretty dope. Yeah, I fucks with her." And then I heard her, and like the main thing that made her blow up was the Bedrock song with all the Young Money artists. That's like the main thing, like where people started to notice her, and then it was
and
just a rap from
Monster
there.
Monster with Jay Z and Ross and Kanye, that Monster
Yeah,
track.
but that
She
was a
murdered
little later
everybody on
though.
that. Yeah, I feel you, but she murdered everybody on that song.
Yeah, but then I remember the first like really wacky video that like really threw me off was the video for Your Love, where she's with that dude from Dark Knight, and he's like her love interest is like some like couching tiger hidden dragon type shit. Yo, that shit like had me laughing and confused at the same time.
Yeah, wasn't Nas one of the love interests in one of her songs too?
Oh yeah, and the By My Side video. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
They
Yeah, he
kiss at the
was.
end. Yo, I like that track. That track was dope. Also, Chris Brown's on it too. Shout out to Chris Brown for his music.
She's been doing her thing forever, man. And like I said, even though she's a mom now, you gotta respect her pen game, her the way that thing that she does and how she impacts the culture. So another good album from her, and yeah, we'll see what everybody else thinks about it.
Yeah, if there's anybody I would put on my Mount Rushmore female hip hop artist from like this past decade, like from more recent times, if there's one I would pick to put into it, it would be her. Definitely.
Yeah,
People could talk about Megan Thee Stallion, who I think she kind of dissed on the album, maybe, and also Sexy Red and Cardi B and all these other girls, but I gotta give the crown to Nicki. Nicki's just an all-around talent in every department. And
yeah,
nobody,
she is.
none of those other girls now, although they are talented in their own right, they aren't fucking with her.
Yeah, you can see that she stood the test of time. She's been here over a decade. Let's see how these other artists, if they're still around in a couple years.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're hot now, but longevity, you got to be a real artist to stand the test of time and to be around for over a decade, 10, 20 years later.
Yeah, because people will try to say that Cardi B's better than Nicki Minaj. Cardi B's better than Nicki Minaj. And hey, you can like Cardi B more, but saying that she's better than Nicki, I'm sorry, but she hasn't been around long enough.
She hasn't put out enough music. She does kill her features and the song that she jumps on. Yeah, she does her thing on the remixes. But as far as like putting out consistent music, Nicki Minaj is definitely dropped multiple albums. She's on a lot of features and she does different genres and crosses over. So I don't see how they can be compared on the same level.
Yeah, but it bees like that. There's always comparisons. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, but yes, there is always comparisons, especially in hip hop. So before we get out of here, King Khan, let people know how they can listen to past episodes of the podcast, and also let people know how they can follow us on social media.
Yeah, so if you want to listen to all of the past episodes of the Shifting the Culture podcast, make sure to visit shiftingtheculturepodcast.com, where we have all of the past episodes and also links to all of our social media accounts. Or you can also just go directly to our social media on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Just search Shifting the Culture podcast. And please make sure to like, subscribe, and also if you have any topics or any suggestions for the show, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Holler at us. Let us know what you think. We'd love to chop it up with all y'all. But until next time, for King Khan, this is going to be Conscious Kurt with another edition of the Shifting the Culture podcast. Take care. Have a good week. And remember, whether you're an old school head or a new school head, always respect the fucking culture. Have a good one.
Peace.